All right, let's get right into it. Have you ever been in an interview, they ask you about your skills, and your mind just goes completely blank? You know you're great at what you do, but man, finding the right words to explain how great, that can be really tough. So today, we're going to build a vocabulary that goes way beyond good or bad so you can talk about your skills with some real confidence.
But first, I have a weird question for you. If pigeons were actually tiny government spy drones, would they be considered amateurs or professionals? I know, it's a little out there, but this question is the perfect setup for the words we're about to unpack. Are they spying for the love of the game, or are they getting paid in, like, breadcrumbs and state secrets? And that, believe it or not, brings us right to the point, the skill spectrum. See, describing your abilities isn't just a simple pass-fail test. It's more of a scale. It ranges all the way from being a total beginner to being a true expert. Figuring out where you and your colleagues fall on this spectrum is absolutely crucial in the professional world.
So, let's try to see this whole spectrum through the eyes of a recruiter or a hiring manager. When they're looking at your resume, they're not just scanning for fancy words, they're actively trying to place you on this scale. Let's break down what that looks like.
First, let's look at the two big bookends, amateur and professional. An amateur does something for fun, for pleasure. But a professional, well, they do it as a paid job that requires a special set of skills. It's really the classic difference between a passion and a profession. So, back to our spy pigeons. If they're getting a government paycheck, then yep, they're professionals. No doubt about it.
Okay, moving along the scale, the first major checkpoint is being competent. This is like the baseline. It means you've got the skills, you've got the knowledge, and you can get the job done successfully without someone having to look over your shoulder all the time. It's the foundation of just being reliable.
But what's a step above competent? That's when you're proficient. Now we're getting into expertise territory. For example, if you're proficient in a certain software, you don't just know the basics. You can use it to solve complex problems, and you do it efficiently. Now that is a word that really pops on a resume.
So, how do companies actually use words like this? Well, they essentially draw up a blueprint for their perfect candidate, and that blueprint is built around the specific requirements for the job. Just take a look at any job ad. You'll see language like this all the time: proficient in MS Office or proficient in Spanish. And trust me, that is not just filler text. Companies are using these specific words to signal the exact level of skill they need. They're not just hoping you can use it, they need someone who can truly excel with it. And these requirements, they're the non-negotiables. They are the absolute must-haves that a company has decided are essential. So for you as a candidate, your very first job is to understand that list, inside and out. And this isn't some abstract idea either. Recruiters use real, practical tools, like this classification sheet here, to map out a candidate's profile against those job requirements. They're literally sorting your whole background into these different buckets: education, skills, and personal qualities. It's a very organized, very deliberate process.
Now, all of this structured thinking gets recruiters asking those what-if questions. What if this candidate had this other skill? To explore those kinds of imaginary scenarios, they use a specific tool from grammar called the second conditional.
And this is your ticket to talking about imaginary situations. The structure is actually pretty simple. It's if plus a verb in the past tense, and then that's followed by would. So something like, if I had more free time, I would learn to code. It's perfect for exploring possibilities.
Okay, let's try it out. Using that if-would structure, how would you phrase a question about a candidate who's missing a skill, but you're still thinking about hiring them? Just take a second to think how you'd form that question.
Here's a great example. In reality, Sarah does not speak French, but we can imagine a different reality, right? If Sarah spoke French, she would apply. This little bit of grammar lets us talk about potential, which is a huge part of hiring.
Now it's your turn. Put on your recruiter hat. You've got a really great candidate, but they're missing one key thing. You might ask yourself, if this person were proficient in MS Office, would I move them to the next round? See how useful that is for weighing your options?
Okay, time to switch chairs. Let's get out of the recruiter's seat and get into the candidate's hot seat. How do you actually talk about yourself? It's not just about what you can do, it's also about who you are, your personal qualities.
And what's really interesting here is that a personal quality is almost never a strength or a weakness by itself. I mean, is taking a long time to make a decision a good thing or a bad thing? Is being super social always a plus? It all comes down to the context of the job.
And this example just says it all. A surgeon has to make life or death decisions in a split second. Taking too long to decide could be a massive weakness. But for a judge, taking the time to slowly and carefully consider all the evidence, that's an incredible strength. See? Context is everything.
All right, so we've got the vocabulary, we understand the importance of context. Now let's put it all together. Let's talk about how you can describe your own expertise.
The key phrase you really want to get comfortable with is area of expertise. This isn't just something you're okay at or competent in. This is a subject you know inside and out. It's basically your professional superpower, and learning how to talk about it is a total game changer.
Think about your LinkedIn profile for a second. That whole skills and expertise section, that's exactly what this is. These are your strongest selling points, the keywords that recruiters are literally typing into their search bars. Things like resume writing or negotiation. Those are powerful areas of expertise. So let's make this really personal. Take a moment and think about your own job right now, or maybe a job you'd like to have. What are the absolute key requirements for that role? Think about education, skills, and those personal qualities. Getting crystal clear on this is step one. And now, the final piece of the puzzle is just practice. The next time you're talking about your career, don't just say what your job title is. Describe how well you do it. Are you competent? Are you proficient? What are your true areas of expertise? Use this language to paint a much clearer, much more compelling picture of who you are as a professional. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If you had a job interview tomorrow, what is the one skill, the one area of expertise that you could walk in and describe with absolute confidence using this new language? Really think about it. Because knowing how to talk about your skills, well, that's a professional skill all by itself.